Hey everybody, Qroo here. Welcome to episode 3 in the series Spanish Subjunctive Triggers. Today's trigger is one of my absolute favorites. I use it on a daily basis and it works nicely with the ones I've already shown you. It is para qué plus subjunctive. It means so, as in showing purpose or intent. Hago videos como este para que puedas mejorar tu español. The verb in the first part is in the present indicative, and the verb in the second part, after para qué, is in the present subjunctive. In this case, it was all in the present tense, but it could have been in the past tense. In that case, we would use the imperfect subjunctive, which we will be talking about later in the video. Here's another example of that construction. Compro ropa de buena calidad para que dure más tiempo. I buy good quality clothing so it lasts longer. You see, the verb after para qué is actually durar, which means to last, and it's in the subjunctive, dure. If it was in the plain old indicative, it would be dura. You may have noticed that those two sentences involve subject changes, right? It's a subject, and then you have para qué and a different subject in the subordinate clause. You've heard me say this over and over in the other trigger videos. If you haven't seen those, you shouldn't be taking these out of order. You should really go watch those first. So para qué follows that pattern. If there is no subject change, it's more common to just use para plus the infinitive. The infinitive is the unconjugated verb. I get up early so I can avoid the traffic, or in order to avoid the traffic. Me levanto temprano para evitar el tráfico. There's just one subject there, and it's me, I, right? Here's another example. Trabajo todos los días para poder irme de vacaciones en el verano. I work every day in order to, or so, I can go off on vacation in the summer. Hago videos como este para ayudarte a mejorar tu español. I make videos like this one in order to help you improve your Spanish. Let's compare that one to the sentence I showed you in the beginning that was similar, but we did have a subject change. Hago videos como este para que puedas mejorar tu español. I make videos like this one so you can improve your Spanish. There are two subjects there. It starts with I, right? Hago videos como este. I make videos like this one. Again, we're just dropping the yo there because hago can only mean I make or I do. All right, there's no confusion there. Then we have para qué, that breaks up the two clauses, and that first verb there is in the subjunctive. It is puedas, puedas. Now I'm going to warn you, you will see and hear sentences from native speakers where you don't have a subject change, but they're still using para qué. I really don't recommend you follow that pattern yourself, or people are going to be correcting you sometimes. Here's an example of what I talk. Trabajo duro para que gane más dinero. I work hard so I can make more money. That just sounds wrong. I've heard native speakers say things like that, but don't be that person, okay? What it should be is trabajo duro para ganar más dinero. I work hard so I can earn more money, make more money, right? No subject change, para, drop in the infinitive. Let's go ahead and play with para qué a little bit, but using it correctly. I work hard so my wife and I can go on vacation twice a year. Got a subject change there, right? I work hard so my wife and I can. We can. That's the change. I, we. Trabajo mucho para que mi mujer y yo podamos irnos de vacaciones 2 veces al año. See, it's podamos because it's in the subjunctive. It's not that hard, right? I give flowers to my wife so she knows I love her. Isn't that sweet? It's nice. Le regalo flores a mi mujer para que sepa que la quiero. You see that sepa in there? It comes from the verb saber, to know. Now that one is irregular in the subjunctive. You just have to learn it. It's not that hard. Sepa, sepas, sepa, sepamos, sepan. Now, if you're not sure why that little le is in the beginning of the sentence, that's an indirect object pronoun, and I just did 2 videos about that. I'll put links to them in the description portion of this video. You can watch those 2 after this one. Let's go ahead and move on. I hope that it doesn't rain so the kids can play outside later. In this sentence, I'm actually going to be using a trigger that I showed you in episode 2. So we have 2 subjunctive triggers in the same sentence. First one is right up there at front. I hope it doesn't rain. Espero que no llueva. So the children can play outside. That is our second subjunctive trigger. Para que los niños puedan jugar afuera más tarde. So the children can play outside later. Since we're working in subjunctive triggers from our previous episodes, let's go ahead and do another one. I want you to paint the house so we can sell it faster. I'm actually going to let you do this one because I think you can do it. I'm going to wait a moment. All right, I think that's enough time. Quiero que pintes la casa para que podamos venderla más rápido. An alternative translation might be if you move that direct object pronoun in front of podamos. Quiero que pintes la casa para que la podamos vender más rápido. Those object pronouns can go before the conjugated verb or attached to an infinitive. So you could have podamos venderla or la podamos vender. Our subjunctive trigger, para que, is useful when giving commands, so you give some reason for that command, right? Cierra la puerta para que el gato no se escape. Shut the door so the cat doesn't escape or doesn't run away. Somebody recently asked me about the difference between like escapar and escaparse. There's subtle differences, but with escaparse, it's often used for like to run away, whether it's your animals running away or kids running away or those kinds of things. Here's another one that starts in the command form, also known as the imperative. Pon las chuletas de cerdo en el congelador para que no se echen a perder. Put the pork chops in the freezer so they don't go bad. Para que can also be a useful sentence starter when answering a question. ¿Por qué quieres sentarte cerca de la entrada? Why do you want to sit next to the entrance? Para que Juan me vea cuando llegue. So Juan sees me when he arrives. The verb after para que is still in the subjunctive. That was from ver, to see, and we made it vea. If you look after the word cuando, you'll see llegue, which comes from the verb llegar, and it's in the subjunctive mood. Why is that? Well, that's actually another trigger that I'm going to talk about in another episode. So if you're not already a subscriber to the channel, you might want to subscribe because you don't want to miss that. Let's do another one like that. ¿Por qué pintaste la casa? Why did you paint the house? Para que se venda más rápido. So it sells faster. I want you to look at those two sentences. In the first one, ¿por qué pintaste la casa? Why did you paint the house? That's in the past tense. But our answer is not in the past tense. I'm saying, para que se venda más rápido. So the house sells faster. And in case you're not sure what I'm doing there, that is venderse. It comes from like vender, to sell, but it's in the reflexive. It's a passive way to express something. For example, you might go to a store and it might just say, se venden boletos aquí. Tickets are sold here. But it's not saying who's selling them, they're just being sold here. All right, now I'm going off on tangents. Our question was in the past tense, and we're not answering in the past tense. Well, this is similar to English. I could do this in English, right? If I asked you, why did you paint the house? You could say, so it sells faster. Or I might say, so it will sell faster. I'm talking about things that are still going on in the present or are going to go on in the future, and I'm not talking about everything occurring in the past. Then it's okay that I don't have tense agreement here. People get so hung up on tense agreement. They're like, well, if your first sentence or question's in the past tense, then everything else should be in the past tense, or conditional, everything should line up. That doesn't always work. But this does work a lot like English. Why did you paint the house? Past tense. So it sells faster, present tense. So it will sell faster, future tense. But let me tweak the English a little bit. What if I said, I painted the house so it would sell faster? All of that is in the past tense. The would is indicating something in the future, but it's all still occurring in the past tense. If we do that, we're going to need the imperfect subjunctive. That's all our tense agreement across the board. The imperfect subjunctive is the subjunctive for the past tense. I know that was a lot of grammatical terms in there. I'm going to explain a little bit more in a minute. Let's just look at what we come up with when we're using the imperfect subjunctive. I painted the house so it would sell faster. Pinté la casa para que se vendiera más rápido. We end up with se vendiera. That is the imperfect subjunctive of vender. At the time that I'm filming this video, I have not done a video about how to conjugate into the imperfect subjunctive, meaning what all the conjugations are. But I'm sure you can find a ton of material online about it. So what you want to keep in mind here is that if you're talking about something in the past, like pinté la casa, I painted the house, so it would sell faster. When using that word would, you know you're going to be using the imperfect subjunctive, okay? Para que se vendiera más rápido. Here's another example of that. I decided to tell Juan what happened that day so he would know the truth. Decidí contarle a Juan lo que pasó ese día para que supiera la verdad. Supiera comes from the Spanish verb saber, to know, and it's in the imperfect subjunctive. You see it's irregular in the present subjunctive and the imperfect subjunctive. I know that got a little technical there at the end, okay? Just remember that para que triggers the subjunctive. Ah, that's easy, right? Well, I hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you did, do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. And until next time, hasta luego.